Hey, what's up, everybody? It's me, Danae, and I'm here with a message for you. Happy Wednesday, September 25th, 2024. I was thinking as I realized it was the 25th, we got around about 90 days to Christmas, right? September, October, November. Yeah, like that's crazy. 3 months. I swear, like once the summer is over, me and my son have this running joke about the song All I Want for Christmas. And the other day we were like, summer's over. Now it's time for I don't want a lot for Christmas. But we always leave it at like, Halloween is over. Oh man, it's only a matter of time. Certainly by the time, I swear, by November, all bets are off. It's time for Mariah Carey in all stores, on all channels, on all platforms. I'm personally not mad at it because I love Christmas. Love it, love it, love it. My birthday is in December, so everything about that month is just all right with me. Speaking of which, I have a small retraction and correction. So yesterday, as I was saying happy birthday to Libra, which is, again, Libra season, so happy birthday again, I was sharing some of my fantastic Libra placements. And of course, as I felt and as I was saying it, I was mixing up one. I was saying that I had Jupiter in Libra. Wrong. I was mixing it up. I have Venus in Sag. That's my placement. So I have my moon and my rising are Libra. I also forgot to mention that my Sagittarius sun is also in the second house. So that's also Venus ruled. So there's some extra Venus energy there. And then, as I said, I have Venus in Sag, and I have Pluto Libra. So yeah, a lot of Venus energy throughout my chart, which I love. And fun fact, the one that I got wrong, my Jupiter placement, is the wild card about me, at least I think so. My Jupiter is actually in Scorpio. And I know that because when I learned that about my chart, I always thought that that was really interesting given the effect that Jupiter energy can have wherever it is. It usually expands it or intensifies it. So I feel like for all the Libra energy that I have that people probably experience from me offhand, even more so than my Sagittarius sun, which is also in the second house, I feel like that mysterious part of me that sometimes people can't quite put their finger on is on account of my Jupiter Scorpio placement. Because as you may or may not know, Jupiter enlarges and enhances everything. So in my interpretation, I feel like it's kind of like my alter ego, so to speak, like my Sasha Fierce, if you will. And it's the part of me that, you know, is kind of like the wild card that you don't really quite, you can't really quite explain, contain, or, you know, put your finger on exactly, because that's the energy of Scorpio and that's the energy of Jupiter, which is intensifying and exaggerating that frequency. So little fun facts about me, if you were wondering, of what energy is reading your cards. That's it. This is me. And so many other wonderful things. But, you know, certainly, I guess the point of my share, and even in celebrating my Libra energy in light of Libra season, is that it doesn't hurt to know your chart. As a matter of fact, it helps a great deal, to just find an app that's pretty, pretty, what do you call it, credible. I think I used to use, it was called Astro, damn, I forget the name of that. I don't have it anymore. I don't have it downloaded, but it was called Astro something. I know some people use like Astro Cafe. I think that's a thing. But mine wasn't Astro Cafe. But I think that's a popular one. And, I'm sure so many others that you could just put in your date of birth, the time, location, and, usually for free, for the bare minimum, just at least know your sun sign, your moon, your rising. Doesn't hurt to know your Venus, and your Venus or Mars, really everything. I would say know where all the planets are aligned in your chart if you can, but certainly that sun, that moon, and that rising are like your big three that you would want to know, because it tells you a lot about what makes you tick and also what doesn't. So probably preaching to the choir on that. I'm sure most people that are tuned into me, you probably know your chart more in depth than I know mine, but just in case I got one or two out there that need the nudge or encouragement, yes, it is the best investment you can possibly make in yourself, to know yourself on a celestial level. All right, so anyway, let's see what we got today. World card, that's crazy. That makes sense. Like, as above, so below, as within, so without. But this is definitely a focus on the 3D world and you within it, how you operate, how you function, but also what cycles that you may have closed out. Speaking of seasons and transits and transitional moments, that of which, if you are tuned into my channel, I align a lot with the moon cycles and what we're being encouraged to do to stay in the flow of universal order. This is a signifier of someone having closed some cycles, usually in a very positive sense, especially upright in that face value by itself. Like, you've done a great deal of bringing closure to seasons past, maybe even just the season past, i.e. summer. You may have had a great, I'm hearing fiscal year, but I don't think this would be the time for a fiscal year. That's usually, I don't know, I'll probably be wrong if I try to say, but I just heard that. So maybe your business did really well over the summer or over the past year so far. Maybe you yourself as a brand, as a professional or creative, closed out the summer in a very strong way. Like, you feel good about how you tied up some loose ends, or even, solidified a great accomplishment. Maybe you set out to do something over this past summer and you did it. And you did it well. It's not just that you did it well. You definitely did it with a stamp of satisfaction that would allow you safe passage to start a new cycle effectively, So congratulations, whatever that may be, however you can relate to that. Let's make that the centerpiece, because I like the idea of that. And maybe perhaps you left behind some aggravation. This is going in the opposite direction. Or left some folks behind that, like, this is energy that's still chasing a dream far behind them and holding on to it with dear life. And it ain't much. It ain't even much here with the Page of Pentacles. Yeah, and the Five of Swords. You know what? I'm gonna have to do this. Yep. This is what someone is carrying with them in their, wow. So all that I just said, wow, and here's the Ace of Swords. That's crazy. So there is definitely a polarity here between those. I mean, it's not evident on this board, I will say. What I said, like I said, at face value of the World card, hopefully relates to where you are, and it resonates in the highest frequency for whomever is listening. But there is a polarity in the 3D reality as the world represents of those that may be able to relate to all that I said. And then there's something else very different that is happening where, like I said, I'm seeing someone that's trying to backtrack, feeling some obligation, not even obligation, some entitlement to something they left behind that they're still holding on to, or they refuse to let go, maybe of some mentality, some ideal, some sense of security. But as this world turns, that's the season has, let's just say practically speaking, summer, and this is definitely very primitive. But let's say somebody was on a time clock to sew up some loose ends in the summertime, but this isn't the energy of doing that. So now this is like I said, somebody still trying to hold on to a cycle throughout the summer. Remember, this is primitive. This could be years, this could be months, it could be lifetimes, really and truly. But this is somebody holding on to something and kind of like being resistant to let some things go, to release for the forward motion, to evolve, to bring closure to what was in a season, to have something fresh in the new one. So, but that doesn't stop time from going, right? We could try to backtrack and hold on to the past for as much as we want to. All in all, it's still moving forward with or without us, and that's the representation here with the World card. So once time has moved forward, let's say summer's over, which it is, and we're at the top of the fall now. As I was saying, it's like now almost countdown to freaking Christmas at this point. Summer, the summer sun is barely set good enough before now we're getting ready for Halloween and Thanksgiving and Christmas. But it just keeps on rolling on, right? And now that it's like somebody is finding themselves on the other side of time, in the present still, but the projection of the future and this energy is not ideal. So basically it feels like somebody didn't, contrary to this World card, do their due diligence to bring closure to the past so that they could start fresh. It feels like somebody's starting back from scratch in an unfavorable position with the Five of Swords here, when they should be the Page of Pentacles itself isn't a bad card, but next to the Five of Swords, it's like somebody is in danger, or like they're not in a secure, it's like where someone was holding on to some sense of security, whether it was false, fabricated, or just sensationalized maybe. Now they're in a position, 3 pentacles down, where they actually are in an insecure position, because they wouldn't let go of what they were idealizing. Now fast forward, and it actually is that reality where someone absolutely is in a position of perhaps certainly in some vulnerable spot, whether it's a matter, like imagine somebody with the Page of Pentacles holding up a shiny gold coin in a field full of thieves or robbers or people that are jealous or envious or hungry. How about that? Like the Five of Swords could even give like survival of the fittest type of energy to me. I never read it that way, but I'm feeling that in this moment, where you just wouldn't want to be a sheep against wolves in this climate, where people will pretty much do anything to survive at this point, just in the human nature of it all, and you are here at this Page of Pentacles, not having all that much yourself to sustain you, but now being thrust into spaces and places that are a threat to even that sense of security and stability. And the Page of Pentacles could be money, it could be resources, it could be talent, it could be time itself, where somebody's time is now objectified from a force that's outside of them, like monopolized even. It could even be like, again, another primitive example. This could be, I'm seeing this as somebody that was holding on to a position here they felt entitled to. Some position, maybe a job, literally a job that was stable enough, to be afraid, for someone to be reluctant to let it go, but had a past essence to it that didn't really project, a future security. Could even have been more or less a dead-end job, so to speak, where it's really just enough to sustain you, or just enough to make you to allow you to hold on to the comforts that you're used to. But really what was being called for in this season was for you to release that grip and have your hands, mind, body, spirit open for something that would, although perhaps be that might have been a shock to your routine, or to your comfort zone or complacency or whatever, it may have had a greater promise for the long run and for the future, to like be like a medium of transportation from the old to the new. So now here on the other side of this new world, this shift of the world, the Page of Pentacles, the Five of Swords, is like somebody that now is this is not necessarily a dead-end job. What I'm actually saying is this is more of that dead-end energy here, where what somebody was holding on to was good enough, but it wasn't holistically satisfying, because it's still the Four of Pentacles. So maybe even if it was good money, it wasn't necessarily like spirit fulfilling or purposeful to, your whole self. But it paid the bills, it, kept a roof over your head, food on your table, all that good stuff, which, we definitely don't turn our nose at either. But over here, because of what wasn't released here, it's like now someone really may be in a position where they feel like they don't have job security, or they're forced to work in something that is not, does not have long-term, they don't have a long-term stake in, or it's not sustainable for the future. And the Page of Pentacles, it's like it's barely enough. And not only that, you're finding yourself like having to work in circumstances or in an environment that is completely contrary to who you are in your most vulnerable state, but yet somehow you still feel like you have to submit yourself to that space, or really starve, like seriously survival of the fittest over here, where it wasn't so much survival of the fittest here, it was like shift to thrive energy here. Like, let go of that, let go a little so I can give you a lot, you know, greater potential if you're willing to surrender limitation, pretty much. But this is like limitation that you almost feel dependent on at this point, and it still doesn't feel all that secure. Like, you could lose your job any day at this point, but you still, and it's not even fulfilling, but somehow you still find yourself feeling obligated to have to get up and do it every day. Now, again, this could maybe not be a job, but whatever this offering of self is, it's almost like someone investing themselves into something. He's offering that Page of Pentacles, but to what? The Five of Swords? There's not going to be a great return on that investment. I mean, if he just pulls it out his pocket, he's in danger of being attacked. So to offer it is like guaranteed that the best that someone has to offer is not going to be appreciated and highly valued, nurtured, or multiplied in spaces that they have and spaces that they have, against their better judgment at this point, surrendered themselves to. Like, somebody could work, it's like you could work in this job for the next year and even work overtime, and there still would be something gravely unfulfilling about it, whether it's the work environment, the rate of pay, the benefits or lack thereof, the responsibilities or the job, the job, what do you call it? The duties that you do, the duties that you do, the job responsibilities and duties, your boss, your leadership or superiors, something. It's like, no matter what, like whatever it is, it's never going to amount to much more than the Page of Pentacles return, because of everything that you may have to sacrifice just to be there. Interesting. I don't know, but it's the Ace of Swords, so confirmation on that, clarity on that. And that's the truth of the matter, whether somebody wants to accept it or not. Shoot. Accepting that truth may be a matter of someone's survival, in this case. So I don't know, it feels a bit like a warning or a wake-up call to some degree, that maybe what was reluctant to do back when it didn't really feel like, the stakes were all that high, when it was like, well, I could do this, but I just don't really want to, or I don't feel secure to. It's like the heat has been turned up over here to kind of like push someone in a tough spot, to almost like pressure them in a sense to make a change, certainly for survival, but in more of a urgent sense is what I'm getting here. Like, it's no longer the luxury of, get to it when you can. It's like the circumstances here. And this could be, I've said this before, of how this like bottleneck effect may be happening with the collective and with creation to more or less, I don't want to say force change and transformation, but certainly to like push the process along. And it's really more circumstantial and environmental, because there are certain things that just don't have vitality in the new world. And it could even be a mindset, because we got the Knight of Swords here, we got the Five of Swords here. It's like something about a way of thinking, maybe even perhaps about yourself or about your potential, about the true nature of your security and what you invest that ideal in, or what you build that ideal upon, has to shift in order for there to be any sense of security in this new function. Because the way in which you could have held on to, say, a job before because it was paying the bills, before you could kind of psych yourself out to some degree into coping. Maybe this is the same job, you know what I mean? But you could psych yourself out into coping with the worst of the circumstances, the most unfavorable things of it, just on account of this sense of security itself. But there's something where that security has depreciated greatly in value here at the Page of Pentacles. Could even literally be like the same position, same job, maybe same relationship, same circumstances, same place that you live, whatever the thing is. It's like now here, although it may be the same thing, there's a great transformation that has occurred on the inside out and the outside in, that no longer make these circumstances bearable, maybe even livable, where it's like I can't just delude myself into believing that this is good enough, that I can deal with it, I can grin and bear it, I can take it, I can get up and go, that I can, if this is how I got to pay the bills, so be it, or if this is what I need to do to survive, I can bear it. There's not that luxury anymore. It almost feels like an attack on your vitality, perhaps just the nature of the same things as they were, either those things intensifying in some unbearable way, or just the nature of who you are has changed, that you just see things in a different perspective that can no longer be ignored. You know what I mean? It could be either one of those things or both, but either way, my point is that what you could cope with before and even, numb yourself to the reality of, is going to be much harder now. I would say now, since I'm giving so much emphasis to there being a turnover in time and in this experience of reality. It's like a now situation where in this season, you may start to feel the heat turn up on you a little bit, or feel like the pressure, like kind of bear down on you a little more than before, because it's just a matter of kind of pushing you into a space that is more aligned with who you have evolved to be. And that doesn't even have to be a bad thing. I feel like that could be something so primitive and practical, seemingly, as like changing a profession, or changing a residence or an address, doing something different, adding something to your routine or lifestyle that would add more value to it than before. It could be a number of different things, so it doesn't have to be so intense as I originally felt it. But to that point, I feel like that was purposeful to convey the intensity, the growing intensity that one could experience on account of ignoring that reality. It could become more and more of a threat to your vitality and even to your prosperity, and to that very stability and security that we all covet as human beings, the more you try to resist it. you know, because it's almost like he's acting like like I said, this is naive. Like he's just taking, like, you know, how your mom or dad would tell you don't count your money out, you know, in public, out in the open, and be discreet, you know, and things like that. There's somebody taking out a gold coin, looking at it, holding it up to the sun to see it shine, and, you know, just completely engaged in this treasure here. And meanwhile, the sharks are circling. You know what I mean? It's like you don't have the liberty to be naive that way anymore. Like, you have to value yourself to the highest degree now. Every inch and every cent of you. Nothing is disposable, or nothing is what do you call it? Like dismissive, you know, like nothing is dismissive or dismissible. I don't know, that doesn't feel like the right word. Where it's kind of like you take it for granted is what I mean. Yeah, I'll move on because that doesn't feel like the word, but I think you know what I'm saying, so let's move on. Okay. Here's the Ace of Cups. Let's get a cup. Do I want to do that? I'm going to try. Darn it. I'm going to try to. No, I'm going to just go here. All right, we got the Ace of Cups here. And let's do this. What's on the bottom? Oh, okay. Moving forward progressively after this actually gives me the energy, as I said, of like releasing a little to open up yourself for much. So this is, like I said, releasing yourself from the obligation of some lifestyle you kind of change yourself to, or some idea you change yourself to allow yourself to be inspired from a higher perspective, you know, to literally to be kind of filled from the inside out with some new force fuel, you know, for like to be re-energized with a new way to achieve success than what you were like holding on so tightly to before. Like you could only see it happening this way because you already have this degree or this work experience, or, you know, maybe even only applying for jobs in a certain field because of those things, and not even considering the possibility of a change in career or a change in industry, or doing something completely new to what what you may even be experienced in, you know, but opening yourself up and finding that perhaps you may be anointed to do far more than just what you feel you've been physically trained to do. You know, actually what it's feeling like is really what's been released in this old world is the limitations of our 3D conceptions, you know, of ourselves, most importantly, because this Ace of Cups could even be like a birth, maybe a rebirth of your mentality, or a regeneration of your you know, of your identity in a way that is almost kind of supernatural, or, you know, definitely out of the alignment of what would have been expected or even ideal from this point, from since now, before up until now. Up until now, you know. So this is opening yourself up and actually finding that you're good at more than what you pigeoned yourself to be good at, and that there, you know, you may actually thrive and and succeed in spaces and places that you never would have imagined yourself to inhabit, or occupy, literally occupy. And the Six of Wands is recognition and reward, like actually being honored and appreciated and noticed for your achievements, for people to actually value whatever it is of yourself that you bring to the table through whatever that medium of expression may be, and being inspired by it, enough to be watching or engaged or intrigued, and this trajectory here was none of that. Like, this career path was going nowhere. Nobody was intrigued. The stark difference, right, from the Five of Swords, where people actually kind of want to stab you in the back or cut you off at the knees. This is actually being celebrated for what you do. So it literally could be about finding your tribe, finding your team, finding your niche, finding your talent, your gift, your purpose, your passion. Certainly with the Six of Wands, definitely about passion and it being driven by love, the purest form of love, internally and divinely. So, like, literally what you feel empowered to create, not just doing it because it makes a couple coins, but the exchange itself before any return or aside from any material return is really just feeling fulfilled and happy and at peace doing that thing, or being, more importantly, being that person. Yeah, something about the being for sure, especially when we're talking about a mindset. Yeah. So this is definitely about closing old patterns and maybe even illusions or delusions about yourself, your limitations, and your potential. And not deferring this, because this is Page of Pentacles. This could even be discovering a new talent or gift, but still deferring yourself to lend it to spaces and places that don't even appreciate it, that there may not even be a place for it to truly shine, or to be put to use productively. So in that case, it really could, this Five of Swords could be about like almost sabotaging yourself, and it be you wondering why you can't get along with nobody, or your boss is always on your back, or nothing that you do seems to be sufficient, when it's not that. It's just that your talents are being invested in the wrong space. Or your talents, what is that? I feel something on that. Yeah, because it could be, the Page of Pentacles trying to bring some nuance of creativity by way of their own gifts and talents, and their unique abilities to an environment or to people in general that are just not on the frequency on the frequency to receive it. Like, these are the workers that don't mind, just going after a dollar, like fighting for commission and being cutthroat and stepping on their partner's backs for a sale, or like that dog eat dog, survival of the fittest energy. They ain't trying to hear all that nuance and ingenuity and creative mumbo jumbo when there's money to be made, so it's not much you can do to shift an environment that is bred to be like that, when you've been bred to be different. You just have to go find where you can plug that pentacle in in a place where it can actually, or sow it, there we go, to sow that pentacle in a place where it can actually grow. And even if that's within your own self, like to invest that energy in your own business, or in, like, again, into something that is much more fulfilling, even if it means a pay cut, it still returns in dividends more than being in an environment where you can count on that pentacle, but you really can't count on the environment or the circumstances of which you have to lend yourself to earn it. I don't know, I feel something on that, even in terms of like content creators or content creation in general, where, yeah, because the world card could be the internet. Five of Swords could be like trolls or, haters or whatever. But there's something about this Page of Pentacles being more pure. And even from the Four of Pentacles, maybe some creators are just trying to do so much to appease the algorithm, like even posting hella times during the day because, obviously that helps, but it's not really adding value to your joy for what you do, your love and passion for what you do, and may actually even kind of diminish your drive to want to do it, particularly in the fully functional way that you've been ordained to do it. So it could be something about kind of streamlining your efforts and maybe focusing on one thing, or investing your attention into the detail of one thing, as opposed to trying to diversify so much as what would be the general conception of, the masses, right? That you got to post a lot. Certainly the consistency thing is probably always going to more or less be the key, at least your brand of consistency, whether it be daily, weekly, whatever. But in terms of the, like, overworking yourself for a return, like how it's set up now, honestly, I feel like it's not really set up for anybody to really get rich anymore on, say, YouTube, because it's so oversaturated at this point that I don't think either they probably don't really have it to dish it out like they used to, which is why they made all the terms so much more stringent than they used to be, and the restrictions and so on and so forth, and or they've become much more greedy, seeing all that they can make and yield from those that are desperate to just give themselves to the app and to the platform for a hope and a dream for a mere morsel in return, when, like, regardless of if you make money or if you're monetized, you're still adding value to this platform. And I think I've said this a long time before, where if you weren't here, if you got 10 subscribers, that's still 10 more people that are now in this app watching you, and therefore there's an opportunity for them to peruse around and, find, stumble their way onto somebody else or into some other space where there is an ad or there is a monetization that can be, that can make money. So no matter what, the presence is what's most powerful. And I don't know why I'm feeling the need to say that. I don't know if it's a matter of maybe someone changing their perspective about their presence and about what the return on their personal investments, what they allow that to mean in a material sense. That you don't necessarily have to be making money on here to be valuable. You don't necessarily have to have hella subscribers or to be monetized or, to have views in the hundreds of thousands or tens of thousands to feel like you're worth a great deal to be in this space, because if you have something life forwarding to say, I would say that's my benchmark. I can't really speak for anything destructive or, you know, demonic or diabolical, but and also the intention behind it, of course, too. But if you have the intention to add value to this space, then you're already doing exactly what you're supposed to be doing, and you don't necessarily need a YouTube play button or monetization or millions of views and likes to affirm that. Allow me to affirm it for you. And many people that are really highly valued, particularly on this app and others, are you don't really see that evidence in those variables. Those are the ones that don't have as many subscribers or don't have as many likes and things like that. And even when you look at popular folks that have hella views, and you only see, like, you can see somebody have tens of thousands of views and have like triple digit likes. That's wild to me. Now, I don't know if that's the fault of the app or just faulty people, and their expression of appreciation. But either way, it just goes to show that those are the variables that are not really all that secure. Like, it's the perception of security, even the illusion of it, that if you measure yourself strictly by those that metrics, you may miss the greater reward at hand. That maybe perhaps just the outlet of expression itself, the Ace of Cups, is what may fuel you, your engine and your brand, and you as a what do you call it, like a product, or a mechanism of some sort, a ministry even, a ministry or a movement, forward in ways that even surpass and supersede the confines of this app or any other app on the internet itself. How about that? Because we don't even know how much time we have left on these functions, if you feel me, So anyway, I don't know why I felt the need to say that. Here's the Page of Swords, which is that, that observation. Others may be observing you, or you may be taking note of said analytics, that could be that, like, really, which I don't, I probably could do better with things like that, but I intentionally don't suffocate myself with the numbers. A lot of times I don't even like to see how many views or anything that I get in general, because I don't want that to affect my morale for, as I'm saying, like, for what I just love to do. I don't want to affect it, or to I don't want to affect it one way or the other. Now, perhaps that's more of what I get to work on in terms of purging that part of me that would be affected either way, because it really doesn't matter. As I'm saying, it's more about the reality of doing what you believe in, and what you love to do. And just because there is a metrics and there are numbers and there are measurements in a very 3D form, doesn't mean that you're beholden to any of those. And certainly doesn't mean that even if you are thriving, especially on here, in any way, shape, or form, that's an indication of doing something spectacular either. So you couldn't even compare yourself to somebody that may be, running it up in many ways, shapes, and forms, because whatever it is that they may be called to express or feel guided to express, there's no point of comparison for the function that you're designed for. Again, here, there, or anywhere, So yeah, like take it all with, a grain of salt. I'm not saying, I mean, they're there for a purpose and a function for sure. If you want to monitor how well you're doing or what you're doing, or, but I feel like a lot of times with especially like spiritual work, it'd be different more on a creative level to some degree. But with spiritual work, like I can't control that some people like one message more than the other. A lot of times it's the title, the captions, and what people are in the mood for. So if I start to cater my message based on, even to consider the message and the success rate of it by how many people watched, let alone liked it, which is ridiculous. But it wouldn't really do me much justice, because every single day that I get on here, it's going to be a new message, because that's just the nature of the, of the ministry. Like I don't get to choose, because trust me, if I did, we'd be talking about something far different every day than what we end up talking about, like maybe not, but sometimes there are messages that I never see coming, and I'm certainly not calling in, so I don't have any control over it anyway. So I definitely don't have control over who engages or who, I don't know. Just do your thing. And as my girl Tina Fey said, ooh, the star card is here. The star card, as my girl Tina Fey said in her book, I think it was called Bossy Pants. I love Tina Fey. I think the quote at the beginning of her book says something like, either do what you want or do what you like and don't care. Do what you want and don't care who likes it. Something like that. Now I want to look that up. If I find it, I'll post it on the in the comments. It's something like that, like do what you want and don't care who likes it, or do what you like and don't care who's watching. One of those two. Which I love the second one, I think, even more than the first, but I can't remember exactly how it goes. But here's that star energy, and this is what this transitions into when you're leading with love, right? Okay, well, this was turned over the Three of Swords. But what's the Three of Swords? This is to me, it's like leaving past fears behind. Like the trauma, there it is. The trauma that we have incurred on account of the conditionings that we have been confined by, so it's almost heartbreaking to not see yourself thrive in an expected sense or an anticipated way, especially when you're putting your heart and soul into something. But again, when you're viewing it through the lens of a system that pretty much is fabricated to disappoint you, it's psychologically synthesized to make you feel like you're not doing enough, you're not good enough, maybe you don't have what it takes, and either to make you go harder and thrust yourself even more so, like wildly into whatever function here that we could be talking about, whether it be a job, a platform, whatever, this could even be like a toxic relationship that we could be talking about. Either way, whatever it is, that's the psychological that's the psych out, pretty much, to make you feel like, well, I either got to do so much to catch up with so many or to keep up with so many, or nothing. And most times, once you find yourself enthralled with the mechanism of social society as it is, if we just take it for for that aspect alone, you ain't going nowhere no time soon. Once you engage, you become more enticed to want to crack the code and, cross over or go viral, or at least find some sense of success for yourself that is satisfying. You know what I mean? And sometimes you can be inspired to do that in a very pure way if your head is on straight and you're balanced. Again, you're not allowing yourself to be controlled by the machine itself. There's a lot of good that can come out of it. Like, people can be very successful even in the spiritual, especially in the spiritual capacity, by still being true to themselves, operating in integrity, still maintaining creativity, and just offering the best of what they have to give. And it doesn't mean that there still isn't a threat. Like I said, this could even be trolls or haters or whatever the case may be, but there's also a deeper layer of protection for those that are operating in integrity and in truth and love. Here is the Three of Swords that may be a projection, maybe perhaps even from the inside out, especially when you start to reach a certain status of notability or notoriety, or even to be recognized, or to have advanced in all those ways that are ideal, where you are being seen and being watched and liked and subscribed to and all that good stuff. There still lies this projection here to want to almost kind of like pressure you, or even what's the right word, like I'm hearing bully, but it's not that. What is it, like damn, what was that? I heard it too. Maybe even intimidate. Maybe that's why I'm saying bully. Like, to almost intimidate you to sway from that alignment one way or the other. So like I'm saying here, even by observing, like analyzing your numbers, and then feeling like you have to like kind of shift or pivot to appease the audience that is most engaged. Or even the thing that I hate, even on this platform, is this whole triggering language barrier, where you got to say stuff like unalive and have to make up all these ridiculous code words just to be able to speak the truth about real life stuff, because otherwise you'll be demonetized. I feel like that even creates a bit of a traumatic impression on folks that are just being normal human beings, speaking words out of the English language and out of the damn dictionary. But now you got to tiptoe around every little thing you say, and almost censor yourself, which is fair to some degree, which doesn't make sense to me in the sense that some people cuss like sailors, and I still see ads on their pages. So I don't know how that works, but you say something other than unalive or sex or whatever, and it's like, people are back moonwalking themselves through a whole message on account of trying not to say certain trigger words, you know what I mean? And it kind of even loses the energy of the transmission to some degree. That part, is something that, as I said, it can be imposed by the machine, because now it kind of has the leverage and the upper hand to be able to dictate who gets paid and who doesn't, whose messages are appropriate and whose aren't, by these stringent guidelines that did not exist before, but now are like the freaking 10 commandments. You know what I mean? So I don't know, something about that, this trauma effect that could try to overshadow natural light. But ultimately, the remedy for that is really to eventually just create your own space and your own platform. You know, there's really no way around it. Yeah, exactly. King of Pentacles, to really take your talents to a place where you don't really have to answer to much or to anyone. And that's easier said than done right now when it feels like, you know, the pull of the public is on platforms such as this or in spaces such as this. But eventually I feel like there's going to be an opportunity to transition from more contained spaces to places where you can absolutely express yourself freely without contempt. And I ain't talking about X, because I don't know what the hell's going on at X, but but again, emphasis on this yet again, advancement. Now here is the material advancement with the King of Pentacles, moving in from your heart and your soul, from your passion, staying in divine alignment within your purpose and your destiny, allowing yourself, and this could even be like prioritizing healing and reformation from those traumas that we've all willingly, you know, aligned ourselves with, in some ways have even inflicted upon ourselves. But, you know, healing it despite all of that and transcending those limitations to still shine in your own unique light, or to not shine at all in those spaces that you feel restricted in, you know, or more importantly, I feel like it's about shining on in your own, by your own, what's the word, like your own, terms, like shining on your own terms, not being confined by the algorithm, by the restrictions, by the metrics, by, you know, none of it, but just literally having made the choice that this is the space I'm going to express myself, and that be the baseline of the commitment, you know, to do so in a way that's authentic to you and that's uncompromised, more or less. Yeah. And ultimately that is, because some people, like for instance, I'll shout her out, the ghetto nun. I know, well, I don't know for a fact, but I'm pretty sure, I think she's even expressed that she's not necessarily, her videos don't necessarily get monetized, although I've been seeing a lot of ads on her channel lately. But her language is pretty mature, let's say, and she damn sure don't censor herself. So where she may miss out on the return rate by the guidelines of the app, you know, and of this platform, she may make up for it in the ways that she's still authentically being herself, and she has her own product line and her own, you know, services to market on the back end that don't have nothing to do with YouTube. You know what I mean? Like, she may even be doing better for herself. I wouldn't be surprised, between her cards, her merchandise, her readings, and so on and so forth, but still not compromising her organic identity just to be a part. You know what I mean? Like something like that. You know, therefore putting her like in a CEO type of position, you know, definitely executor of her estate, with her with like this platform is more or less probably just a marketing tool, you know, for her. Now, as popular as she is, and as much value as she adds to the platform by way of her content and views, she could get, you know, discouraged by that or frustrated. But I don't get that sense. She still just keeps showing up, you know, being her, saying what's on her mind and what's channeled through her spirit. And God makes up the difference. The divine, the universe makes up the difference. And really, probably, um, supersedes the difference more than what she would get if she were to kind of like, you know, conform to the system for the purposes of, yeah, here we go, for the purposes of, I feel like this is, which one is first? Because this flipped first and then this flipped out. So let's do this here. For the purpose of that secure check, you know? But like I said, hella views, hella traffic on her channel is damn near criminal if she isn't getting compensated for it to some degree on YouTube's part, but it's probably no real sweat off her back, for real, for real. And days are numbered for platforms that are being manipulative or monopolizing resources that have ultimately built their establishment on the sake of, on the count of greed or I don't know, like tyranny. That's what it feels like, because it's like, why couldn't people say what the hell they want to say? Literally, the Fool card, the Queen of Swords, why wouldn't you be able to speak your mind on a platform such as this? I don't know. Let me not make it all about that. But anyway, this is definitely about being uninhibited in your authentic expression, just like that. The Fool card, the Queen of Swords, saying what you mean what you say, and that there being, you know, some rhyme or reason behind it for sure, not just somebody speaking crazy and saying anything. Like the Queen of Swords is highly intelligent, insightful, has a great deal of value to add to any conversation, you know, whether it be live or virtual or whatever the case may be, that has a great deal of knowledge and influence to invest into any space they occupy, you know, and a special set of skills and expertise as well. So what are we saying about that here with the Fool card? Maybe like it could literally be, like I was saying, to kind of take your show on the road or take your investment and personalize it, you know, like liberate it from these entities that feel they have the monopoly on expression at this time. Wow. We got the Eight of Wands. What's the Eight of Wands? Oh, wow, that's the accelerated energy. And then the Eight of Swords, yeah, out of imprisonment, like, yeah, take yourself out of bondage or disempowerment. And again, now we got the Queen of Pentacles. So no gender left behind in terms of money to be made. So yeah, it's definitely something about transitioning, like it's something about the mindset, the mindset of prosperity that has been reformed and refined, maybe even regenerated as something altogether new, and that is being there's being like an opportunity to advance in that refinement in a very like independent way, like a sovereign way, you know, really big emphasis on taking the parameters off of, especially the projected parameters, off of your potential so that you can expand your harvest, to increase your returns, maybe even increase your internal value to some degree as well. You know, like a lot of this has been mixed up in about a job or even the platform and your creative expression and what the return rate is on that. And perhaps it's because we, the people, have been limiting ourselves to some degree to feel that if we don't contribute or show up in these spaces, then we may somehow be missing out. But what happens when you do create that space of your own? What does that look like? How do you market it? How does it, or when there maybe is a collective creativity of a space that rivals this to some degree, that affords the liberty of expression that we all crave and that we all are entitled to when it comes down to it. Where it's more of a partnership and people still are, you know, their own corporation, their own brand, their own entity. It's not like right now you kind of on this platform and others, you still feel like an employee. You know what I mean? Like you still feel like you're clocking in and clocking out, and if you don't work, you don't get paid, which is not true because some people have videos that just make money, you know, especially some of like the youth creators and stuff, or the family content. But generally speaking, you know, you're still answering to a boss that is managing creativity that it doesn't own, but it makes all the money from, that it itself is not in any deficit of profit for. It's probably only increasing more and more, especially as it finds the means to cut corners to pay less. You know what I mean? So it's something about that here that's weird. I don't know. Maybe some objective stance that gets to be taken slowly but surely, but first starting with changing your mind about how you operate within the space first, to liberate yourself in that reality at first, and then to be open to conceive of how you get to move on. This isn't it. This isn't all there is. And yeah, I know there are other spaces like a TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook. Kind of, I've been off of Facebook and Instagram, and I see there's more of a trend of that. Twitter, been off of that. But, you know, I know there are things like Twitch and Rumble or whatever, which I don't know much about. But hell, Tasha K got her own website. You know what I mean? And yes, she still gets a lot of traffic through YouTube for sure, but that's where she started. But she has her own website that you can pay, and people do pay for a subscription to, and she can say whatever she wants over there, you know, and I'm sure she does. I've never tuned in, but I can only imagine. All right, let's do, what am I doing? Let's do one more. Wow, look, here's the independence right here. Yeah, we on to something, ladies and gentlemen. What exactly, I'm not 100% sure, but definitely something of value here. I want to try to make sure everything is in sight, as opposed to last time I did this. I had stuff hanging off the table and out of the frame. Yeah, but here's that single, self-sufficient. You know, this definitely is about being fulfilled in spirit and in flesh, you know, being satisfied. The Nine of Pentacles indicates that there is some spiritual affluence first, and this is what it materializes to be. in the Nine of Pentacles. But you could even say like Nine of Cups precursor, so to speak, not indefinitely, but that level of esteem and fulfillment in who you are and what you do and how you do it, and you know who you express yourself to be, and being grounded in that satisfaction. And this is the magneticism of that effect. Like I've been saying pretty much throughout this whole time, is that this is what it amounts to be. It does become very material, even though, there may be constructs that are established to restrict that or to dictate that more than anything. It gets to happen in a very sovereign sense if there's dedication and commitment to that means or that method. So all that I said about still being able to be true to yourself and not stressing about what the app says, what the numbers say, what they don't, what they are, like how often you post, how many posts you make in a day, and this and that, like unless it's just naturally what you want to do. But there's a certain organic nature to the Nine of Pentacles that it's not forced. Is definitely dedication and devotion, and certainly maintenance and multiplication, but it's not forced. It's not like, this is more about what you get to do than what you have to do. And maybe that right there is the basis of the whole message and shifting your mindset. That's it right there. From that job you feel you have to do to survive, and the one you feel you get to do because you love it. And every which way that state of mind transfers into other things. Because certainly it's not limited to a job. It's not limited to creativity or content creation. It's not limited to social media and your engagement or an involvement in it. It's not limited to a relationship, a person, a place, or a thing. It is universal, and it's transferable to pretty much everything that you do, which is probably why it is the centric point of the message and all the different ways that I've kind of touched on it, that it's time to shift your mentality to the audacity to prioritize the things that you get to do above all else. Yeah, and that is a conflict. It can be an inner conflict, and it also can put you at odds with the rest of society as it stands right now with the Five of Wands, because this is the fray. And to live above the fray, see right up here under the Five of Swords, can definitely put you in a threatening position to the conventions of culture and society, and certainly against the mechanisms, i.e. platforms such as this, the corporation of creation that has much greater stake in this than it does in the Nine of Pentacles. You as an individual, a sovereign being with your own mind, your own set of standards and morals and your own vision of success and your own means and methods to attain it. That's much more of a threat to the establishment that would glean more from you and profit more from you when you are submissive to this survival of the fittest mentality, wherever that is, than to just be in some posture to think you are just worthy to receive. Just as you are, who do you think you are? How dare you? How delusional of you. Well, call it what you want, but that's the difference between the haves and the have-nots in the new world. It certainly could just be a matter and a difference in delusion, but in the most divine sense. And if you know, you know. And if you don't, I suggest you figure it out. Okay? Queen of Wands, exactly, who ain't never taken no for an answer. Why should she? Not only is she confident and creative enough to manifest at will and on demand and command, she is all that. I mean, like, what else is there? There is no point B. That is the point. This is the alpha female, as a matter of fact, of the queens, where, like, that's just what it is. There is no impossibility in her vocabulary. Certainly not one within the respect of her reach, and her purpose. And really, again, that is defined by simply what she can put her mind and exert her passion toward. It's just as good as done, achieved, manifested, So that's really the frequency, the mindset, and the drive that gets to fuel this mentality. When the rest of the world may want to fight over scraps and morsels and jobs and power and influence and opinions and everything else of the sort, this is the energy that just sits back and receives, creates from her consciousness. Queen of Wands, let's see what's under here. And celebrates her achievements. Bam. His or her now, not leaving the masculine out, but of course this is how it's come up. So there certainly is definitely like a special resonance for the feminine energy for sure, if you can relate to it. And again, as I've said many times before, partially due to the fact that the feminine energy has kind of been behind the times and what she's been given leadway to achieve for herself without resistance, without objection, without criticism, without judgment, without unnecessary, unjustifiable obstacles, and even projected competition. So it's just, catching up to the harmonious and balanced order of the universe for it to seem a bit more accelerated for the feminine energy to really celebrate her power and to initiate it, assert it, acknowledge it, accept it, you know what I mean? Like really A plus type of energy, type A plus frequency, not disparaging the masculine energy whatsoever, but certainly being empowered in her own force. And of course, masculine being empowered in his feminine energy in a way that has been depressed and suppressed in previous seasons. It's time for us to turn over a new leaf now and to release those impossibilities that we have staked a reality in up until this point, that we've literally built foundations, corporations, pillars, consciousness upon, creativity, creation itself being built upon impossibilities, restrictions, limitations. Now, the new normal is to be fully free to create in whatever capacity you see fit to do so. Certainly still with the responsibility for what you create now, for sure, for certain, and that being more or less the exchange, like really assuming full responsibility and accountability in a more assertive sense for your for your proactivity and for your actions, but certainly, being well rewarded for the best of it all and for the most well intentioned of it all. In a tangible, actual, practical, material way. Not just ideal, not just a good pat on the back, good job, or you're doing great, honey. No, it's like really seeing the return on your energetic investments now, for as long as you're willing to shift your perspective to be in the posture to receive it fully and completely. Yep. All right. Well, I'm going to leave it there. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Until next time, as always, I leave you with peace.